Hey guys, what's up? My name's Nicolas and welcome back with another video, and today, from the title and thumbnail of this video, I'm gonna be showing you guys a complete comparison of the Mega Halo flood throughout the years. So I'm gonna be comparing the flood that they have made back in the old articulation, comparing it to the new articulation that we are getting today. I'm gonna be telling you guys the benefits and the the advantages and disadvantages of each figure. So yeah, without further ado, let's start. First things first, let's start with the smallest, and let's start with this guy right here. Let me just do it like that. Yeah, let's start with that guy. This is the flood infection form from there you go. So let me just focus real quick. There you go. So let's start with the smallest one, which is the flood infection form that they released back in the Mega Bloks days. So technically they released three different colors. There's the light brown, the brown, which is this one, and then the dark brown. But we're just gonna be focusing, they're all pretty much the same other than the color. So this is the old Mega Bloks Halo flood infection form, and there's a hole underneath where you can put a bar. So that's that. You can attach it to a peg or to a stud. But yeah, that's that is the old articulation blood infection form. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick rotation real quick so you guys could see. Now the new one is a bit bigger and more softer, with a softer plastic, and this time it comes with two pieces because the tendrils, the red tendrils is a separate piece. So this is the new one that we're getting, which is the flood infection form, a lot bigger compared to the the older Mega Bloks version. So I'm gonna give you guys a side by side. So this is the old one, as you guys could see there, and this is the new one. Oops, this is the new one. So that's the new one, and then this is the old one. So unlike the old one, this one can be removed. Technically, I'm gonna be careful of this because they can break. It's a bit more softer plastic, bit rubbery. This is a harder plastic. So the smaller one is a harder plastic. So this one is a harder plastic, and this one is a bit more rubbery. And now it comes with two pieces, so you can separate the tendrils, and then you could technically remove it, and also has a bigger hole underneath where you can attach a bar or probably even a stud, and I think you can easily attach it to a figure. So when flood was rarely available to people before they released the the Halo Heroes human combat form, and before the Floodgate was even released, the only way that people can get their hands off was getting a lot of this from the blind bags. So what people technically do when they don't have a flood is to use a figure and attach this as the head. So I have a Marine here that has no head, that I remove the head. You can easily, I think, and I haven't done this, but it works. For some reason, I'm not sure if that's what Mega was trying to do, if it was intentional, but it works. It literally, whoops, works. So let me just. So now you have a human combat form. Technically, this is not how it's supposed to work, but it works. So now you have a human combat form. I'm gonna put a stand. So, technically, what people do is they do something like this. So, if people don't have access with flood human combat forms, they actually just do this. They remove the head of the marine and then replace it with a flood infection form, and then attach that to the body. So that's the result. It works, not gonna lie. It reminds me of the crab zombie guys from that game. I forgot what game that is. The crab head zombie guys from what you call Half-Life, the head crab zombie guys. That's what this thing reminds me of. But yeah, it works. So I'm not sure if the small one will work, because probably because of the small hole I would not force it because it would probably break. But the big ones does work, so that works at the very least. So yeah, that's the advantage of the bigger ones compared to the small ones. Let me just remove it like so. So just gonna give you guys a comparison of what you call the flood infection forms. So this is the small one. I'm just small one, and then the big one. Might as well give you guys the close-up, or should I say the rotation of the big one. You guys already know what it looks like, but just in case, that's what it looks like. Alright, let's move on to a bit bigger one. But this one doesn't have a comparison because Mega has not made a new articulation of this, or even a new version of this. We have the Flood Carrier. And I think you can only get this from few sets. And yeah, so technically it's one of those guys that has a movable leg. I think there are two colors. There's the dark brown one and the light brown ones. I have one each. I got this from the Flood Invasion form set, which I reviewed on my channel. So go if you guys wanna go check. If you guys wanna see that, go check out my playlist. Oh, it's quite big. So let me just move the camera a bit so you guys could see it in its full size. So this is the Flood Carrier form. So it has a human legs, or technically legs underneath, that can be moved, and it's hard to basically it's hard to stand them without a figure stand. So technically I'm using a figure stand just to, a Call of Duty figure stand, just to make it stand, because I think you could use these arms or tendrils on the sides as support, but it's not enough. Sometimes it's not enough, but yeah, there's nothing inside. Technically you could place infection forms inside. So like let's say let's say this one inside of it, and make it look like it's coming out, something like that. So technically it's inside. The problem is, the disadvantage of it is it's hard to pull out. You can technically use the new ones. I would not suggest putting it inside, but making it poke like so. Oh god, something like that. So something like that. So as if it's poking out. I think some people have already done this. I've seen the domain do this technique where he used one infection form and put it inside as if it's poking out. So that's nice. So you have an infection form inside. To technically do it something like that. Something like that. I don't want to force it because I don't want to break the infection form because they're just soft rubber. But yeah, something like that. It is kneeling a bit though. But yeah, so you have something like that looks like that. I'm gonna give you guys a quick rotation. It's a giant ball of flesh that explodes into a bunch of blood infection forms when, I believe, when a player shoots it. But yeah. So yeah, let's move on to the flood tanks. And this is also a quick comparison because technically there are no difference between them. So this is the old one, the old, I believe, the Mega Bloks one, and technically it has all the articulation that you need. So the arms, you could raise the arms like so, the legs as well. You could move the legs and this arm, and then the head, you could rotate the head like so, depending on how you want to look, how you want to make it look. The legs have double joints, so you could easily bend the knees as if it's running. So something like that. It is hard to make it stand though because of its weight. Technically, you could just do it like that. So something like that in terms of articulation. But we're gonna compare it now with the what you call the newer one from the Floodgate Firefight set, which I have and reviewed as well in my channel if you guys want to check that out. But technically there's no difference because the only difference is the paint apps. They added a bit of paint apps. So this is, let me just, so that is the new one. So this is the new one, and as you guys can see, there's a bunch of I'm gonna give you guys, or might as well give you guys a rotation of the older one. So let me just do it like that. So this is the older Mega Bloks flood tank. So nothing too fancy about it. And now the new one, which is technically has the same articulation, but this time with a different paint apps or paint application. It has more texture, more paint application, making it more realistic and fleshy. And apparently they added green mold. So all that green paint stuff on top, they added that, but the pieces are technically the same. So I'm just gonna give you guys, might as well give you guys a quick rotation of it. So this is the new, well, pretty much the same articulation, but the new one from the Floodgate Firefight. So pretty much the same, only this time with glossier and more paint applications. So the green mold is growing from the body of the flood. So that gives more life to it. So I'm gonna put it side by side. As you guys could see, there's technically no difference. So So technically there's no difference other than the other than the paint application. So they're all pretty much the same. I think this one from the Floodgate Firefight is more browny, or should I say more brown than the one from the Mega Bloks old one from the new articulation. I prefer this one because of the paint application, but pretty much they're other than that they're similar in molds. So yeah, these are the comparison for the Mega Halo Flood tanks. Alright, so let's move on with the figures. First things first, the human combat form. So I'm gonna attach the human combat form here. So this is the human combat form, and pretty much it's still cool. So I'm gonna zoom it out because I can. Let me just do it like that. There you go. So we have the human combat form. There you go. So this is the human combat form. Basically, I'm using a Spartan right now and has a black battle rifle. But technically, the only reason why this is a human combat form is because you replace the head mold with this flood piece that has a ball joint hole that you attach to the head, and then the arm, which is this claws, is only one piece, and you replace the arm with its you replace the arm with this flood arm like crab claw thing piece, and it becomes a flood human combat form. Now, I'm gonna be putting the one from the Halo Heroes line, which is the human combat form. So I'm gonna be grabbing the stand real quick. Give me 1 sec. And this is amazing though. It has disadvantages though, but still, compared to the newer one is so epic. I love what they did with the new articulation human combat form. Whoops. And the arm is a lot bigger because it has more articulation compared to the old one. So now, that side by side of the old Mega Bloks Halo combat form and the new and the new the Mega Halo human combat form from the Halo Heroes line. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick rotation first. Actually, I should give you guys a quick rotation of the old one first, just to show you. So that's the old articulation one, and then the new one from the new articulation line, which is so cool, is this guy. Look at that. Oh, it's thick. So the mold has more textures from the flood parts. It has a painted green with a brown, a splattered brown on the battle rifle. And the claw is now articulated. So you could easily articulate the claws however you like. Perfect for dioramas. It is a bit hard to make it stand though because of how big the arm is. Even with the what you call stand, the figure stand, but you can easily articulate the claws like so. And I think you could use it to grab a figure, but I'm not gonna do that because it's not gonna stand either way. But yeah, you can easily articulate the claws. The claws have their own joints. And I have no idea how they did this because it's impressive in terms of a minifigure scale with what you call movable claws. Articulated claws is just impressive, and it still has a hand that you can hold the weapon, so that's cool. I think if I do this, yeah, it can also hold the weapon like so. Let me just, it can technically hold the weapon. Whoops. But because of how big the arms are, it becomes heavy. But yeah, technically you could use the claws to hold the weapon. But that's another thing. And of course the tendrils are also removable, so technically you could remove that. If you don't want that, so you could easily remove that, and that's what it looks like. But I think the tendrils are nice. It adds, you know, more gruesomeness in the what you call the figure. And of course the claws are movable. Now the only bad thing about this is, aside from it keeps falling off because of the weight of the claws, is that the body itself, I'm gonna try to focus on the body itself. The body is nice, not gonna lie, but the problem with this figure, the problem with this figure is the body itself is one mold. So technically, as you guys could see here, from the back, all the way from the front, it is literally one mold. So it is hard to customize it, because if you want to customize it, let's say you want to use it for a marine, you could technically use the arm, but the body, you have to use the same body. You have to use the same you have to use the same body, or it has to be a marine. Also, another thing, side note, is the head can be movable, so you can adjust the head. Let me just raise it like that. So you can adjust the head, you can rotate the head however you like, or even remove it. So let's say I want to use another head, like a marine for example, just because it's cool. So I have this standard marine head from a marine, UNSC marine, and then just put it there. I think it still works. Yeah, technically it still works. Oops, that's not what I want to do. But yeah, technically it works. It has a ball joint on the side, and you could use that to have a marine head attached to the side. So that's still cool. I like that Mega gave you an opportunity or a chance to customize it. But for the body though, unfortunately, it's one piece. So that's the only downside of this, is that you cannot use it for other customization, because you have to use a marine. You cannot use a Spartan. You cannot use you cannot use a Spartan. You cannot use an elite. It has to be a marine. So that's the only downside of this. Now, compared to the old articulation one, the old articulation one has no detail, or has less detail compared to the new one, obviously. But still, it gives you the opportunity to transform any figure that you have into a flood. Oops. Into technically a flood. So I have this blue Spartan, and I want this blue Spartan to be the flood. So I could just remove the head like so. Hopefully I could do that. And then the arm, and then remove the arm, remove the head of the blue Spartan. Hopefully I could do that without breaking the figure. Attach the head here, and then attach the arm. And now I have a flood Spartan. As easy as that. 2 pieces removed, 2 pieces attached. That is one thing that I like about this, and it's easy. You don't have to worry about customization because it gives you the freedom to do so. But unlike this one, it's cool, but the customization is just not there because the body is technically one flood piece. Oh god, they keep falling because of how heavy the figure is. So yeah, that's the only downside of pretty much that. Same goes for the flood elites technically, so I'm not gonna further explain that. But yeah, I'll give you guys a quick rotation to compare both. So yeah. Alright, let's move to the flood elites. So for the flood elites, I'm just gonna bring this figure back because I like this color for it. So for the flood elite, pretty much it's the same thing. I'm just gonna show you guys old articulation flood elite and the new one. So we have this one, this purple flood elite. The head mold is now different. It's longer because of the Covenant Elite's head attached to it. So at least there's a small difference compared to the Flood Marine one. Let me just compare it. So that's the Flood Marine, which is smaller, and then there's the Flood Elite. And then, of course, the new articulation Flood Elite is still awesome because it's now using the new one. The downside about this one is just like the Flood human combat form, the body mold is attached to a blue Flood, or should I say a blue Covenant Elite. So the customization is still not there, unfortunately. So give you guys a rotation of first things first, a rotation of the old school Flood Elite, and then oops, that's not what I want to do. There you go. And now give you guys the new articulation one, and just like before, it has all the amazing what you call amazing things that the Flood human combat form can do. It has what you call articulated claws, The detail is there. The tendrils can be whoops. The tendrils can be removed if you don't want it. The tendrils can be removed, and of course the detail is there as well. So, and of course the head can also be replaced if you want to remove the head. But just like the human combat form, it is molded. The body is one mold, and you could only use it. You could only use to customize it with another blue combat elite, and that's it. You cannot use other figures to transform another elite. Let's say a purple or a red elite or an elite ultra to unless you have something that has the same body color of the armor of this one to a flood. So that's the sad part. So because the mold is molded with the body of the elite. So that's the sad part. But still, I wish Mega would fix that. Alright, let's do the last one, which is the Flood Brute. Let me just show you what the Flood Brute was. This one is probably one of the hardest that you can get. I think the Flood Marine as well, the human combat form, next to the Flood. But this one is only available for the Mercenaries 3. I really want this because this is the easiest one you could customize with. So it has all the good things about the new articulation Flood, the articulated claws, the detail, whoops, and how heavy the claws is. It becomes a problem. The articulated claws, the detail. But because the body itself is fully Flood, and although the head mold, the molten head mold, because I think this is the only Flood figure that has a built-in molded head on the body that is like a brute face melting off from the Flood body. It is the easiest that you can customize it because technically you don't see an armor anywhere aside from the legs, right, and the arms. Technically you could remove those and you're left off with the Flood body. Now of course it has a Flood head, but you could technically use your imagination and then replace this is something I did to experiment it, and I'm happy about it. People on Reddit, when I posted the picture of it, people on Reddit were judging me because it's a Flood Brute. Have you heard of the word pop and swap? Have you heard the word imagination or customization? That's what that's what I was planning to do. That's what I was doing. I wanted this to be not just a Flood Brute, but also a Flood Marine. So I grabbed some marine parts. And then replace the arms and the legs with Flood Marines. And now I now have a Flood Marine. So I'm gonna show you what happens if you do that. So if you replace all the parts, oh my god, please tell me, okay, there you go, attaching. If you replace all the parts of the brute parts, the brute legs and the brute arms with a Flood human UNSC Marine, you could technically make something that looks like this. So I'm gonna remove the Flood Brute first, and then you have something that looks like this. Now you don't have human combat forms because it's hard to get them from the Halo heroes, but you have something similar to that, close enough. Now of course the head mold is still a Flood Brute, but you could use your imagination and make it look like the head is a human head that is melting to the point that you could no longer determine what head it is. It could be a brute for all you know, it could be a melted human head. It's basically imagination. So now you have something that looks like that. Using the parts of a marine, removing the legs, or should I say removing the legs and the arms of the brute, you could replace it with the legs and arms of a marine. And now, because the body is just flood, let's say that the armor was engulfed or succumbed or being overtaken by flood mold or flood organic matter. Let's say that the armor is swallowed whole by the flood, and now you have some sort of a human, close enough human combat form. Maybe not the best, but still, it works. If you use your imagination and look past of the brute head. If you could look past from the brute head and then just imagine that it's a flood, what you call a human melted face. But yeah, pretty much. Now, because the Mega Bloks one doesn't have a flood brute, there's no way to compare there's literally no way to compare this flood brute, because technically you could just easily pretty much do the same thing with this. You could replace a brute, and then actually let's do that now, because I'm not sure, just for you guys to see what it looks like when you have a old articulation brute and replacing it with this flood old Mega Bloks flood pieces. So we have this guy, which is a brute. So technically, the cool thing about the old Mega Bloks one is you could easily do the same with other figures. So I think, because it hasn't been done, I'm not even sure if it's possible though. Oh, it is. Whoops. It's a bit loose. That's the only problem. But it works. Let me just... So technically, if I put the old one and the new one side by side, then you can see a comparison. So, and now you have a flood brute. With a simple swap, pop and swap, you now have an old articulation, you have now an old articulation flood brute. Very easy. Just like that. And then in comparison with the new one. Now technically, if you want this to be another brute, this guy, the new articulation one, you can just replace the legs and arms of a different brute and it would still work, because there's no armor. Now in terms of flood elite, I think you could also do that if you want it to be another flood, but of course it's gonna be using the flood brute face. So that's the only downside about that. That you cannot use it for flood elites. The flood brutes, you cannot use it for flood elites because it would have the flood brute face. Unlike the human ones, it's a lot closer because of the shape of the head. But yeah, this is the comparison between the old articulation flood brute, if you replace it with flood Mega Bloks flood pieces, and then the new articulation flood brute. Technically there's no difference aside from the detail and of course the articulation. But yeah, you're just replacing the head and the arms. So yeah, give you guys a quick rotation. Alright, so pretty much that's that. That's the comparison between all the flood from the old Mega Bloks line to the new Mega Bloks line. So hope you guys enjoyed this video of the comparison of all the flood from the infected forms, from the flood carriers, from the flood tanks, to the what you call flood marine or flood human combat forms, to the flood what you call elites and flood brutes. Hope you guys enjoy. If you guys enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, subscribe now to show your support, and yes, as always, I will see you guys next time with another brand new video. This is the Cool Mike signing off. Goodbye.